Welcome to Rewind and Revolt, and I'm joined by Pam today, and back again is Chad Allen Barton. He looks scared even though he enjoyed the movie we watched today, which was 9 to 5. So this one we wanted to do because if you watched one of our previous episodes, we did Working Girl, and we were so disappointed with it that we wanted to find one that we were not disappointed with, and I think we found it. Have you seen this one before?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either.
Haven't either.
The cast alone, so we had Lily Tomlin,
Jane Fonda,
my favorite, and Dolly Parton.
Yes.
Dolly Parton's adorable. I love Dolly Parton.
Yeah, she's great in it. I didn't know anything about the movie going in, so.
Knew about the workplace, but that was it.
The only thing that I know is the song, which I think we all all do.
Yeah.
But that was it. Like I didn't read about it, what it was about, or anything like that. So yeah, everything was a surprise. It was not at all what I was expecting, at all.
No, I didn't expect there to be a bunch of like socialist connotations and stuff to it. It was like, ooh.
I know, it was a surprise. So it came out in 1980, and Working Girl was 1988.
Yeah.
Which is 8 years after this one, and this one is so much more progressive.
Oh,
yeah.
way more progressive.
Did you ever see Working Girl?
I saw it a long time ago, and
It was horrifying. So we'll probably compare and contrast a little bit, but let's talk about this one.
plot was interesting and not what I expected in the least. It was a lot of fun. It had a couple of little dips in the middle where there wasn't as much happening, but general plot synopsis for people who haven't seen it, it's the three ladies in the film, and they're working for this, what's the phrase they're constantly using to describe this guy?
Oh,
wait a second.
A bigot.
Wait.
Wait for it.
Sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical, bigot. And this is the sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical, bigot edition.
It's an
Yeah, it was a mouthful.
And they keep calling him that over and over again.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an actual edition. What's the non-sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical, bigot edition?
Probably the VHS. So, so their boss is that, and he's a scumbag, and then one night they get high and drunk and plan to kill him in various ways, in a joking way, and then they accidentally...
They do all the things, but they don't actually kill him.
Right. And then he ends up in an S&M bondage scenario where he's suspended from the ceiling at times.
It was wild. It took off.
And then,
I thought it was going to be like a normal workplace comedy.
and then they institute basic kind of like socialist agenda things for the workplace that all turn out really well, except for when Colonel Sanders is displeased about the equal pay. But everything else he was fine with. Yeah, and then he gets sent to Brazil and dies in the Amazon.
So let's talk about some of the scenarios before all this started taking place. Okay, so let's start with Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton is the secretary, and she's in a typical situation with her boss where he's constantly trying to look down her shirt and molest her.
Sets up this ridiculous situation with the binders and the pencils and stuff so that they'll slowly fall off, and you can watch the whole setup happening.
Come down and you can look down at her.
It takes an excruciatingly long time for it to play out, so you're just like, oh my God.
But there is also more than that going on, because she's like the typical bombshell, that she's trying to be nice to everybody. She's like, I don't know why people don't want to talk to me. I'm trying to be nice to everybody. What's wrong? And
that's a typical thing that can happen with a woman who's too close to a male boss, even now. I've seen that in a workplace. It kind of sucks because all the women were all against her because they all thought that she was sleeping with the boss.
Right.
And then we had Lily Tomlin, who worked there for over, I think, 5 years.
Something.
No, 12 years.
That was a long time.
She was comparing herself to somebody who'd gotten promoted, who she had trained for, I think, the last 5 years.
The guy who gets the promotion.
Yeah, but
and she had trained the boss too.
She trained the boss.
That was the 5-year thing.
Okay, it was a 5-year thing.
Yeah, she'd been there for 12 years or whatever, yeah.
But she trained the boss, who was now lording over her, asking her to go get him coffee all the time, and
buy gifts for his wife.
His wife, which turned out to be for Dolly Parton's character. And it's just so highly inappropriate, and also it just sucks. To train somebody who gets hired over you.
Yeah.
So obviously she's upset. And then we had Jane Fonda's character, who's new,
and is a recent, well, not a divorcee yet, but
Separated.
is in a separated relationship.
Because he cheated on her with his secretary.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what else was going on with Jane Fonda at the beginning?
She's never had to be in that situation. She's coming from a situation where the husband is paying for everything and she didn't have to work and she could be a housewife. And so now she's having to get into the workplace for the first time and it's too much, you know, because she's just not used to all this shit.
So they all like get high, or they all go hang out and they discover all this stuff that's going on with each other.
And these weird vignettes start happening,
Yeah.
like these weird, like the tunnel.
Scenario.
Yeah, the tunnel scenario that goes out to Jane Fonda's
was
first.
which she had the gun. And she was like chasing him and hunting him.
And I was like, holy shit, this is like, I didn't expect this at all. It's like, it just goes in this wacky shit, Looney Tunes-esque shit.
Well, we get there.
Yeah.
And then Dolly Parton's
The reverse harassment, like she wanted to harass him.
And it was Old Westy.
that really just, it shows like how ridiculous that scenario actually is. Like,
The way she was talking to him.
you know, and then the things that he had to do, and it's like when you reverse that role,
Yeah.
you're like, oh my, this is
It's like you need to take up the crotch of the pants a little bit more so it'll hug your balls.
you got a nice set of balls.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like, that's so ridiculous. Like,
But she pulled it off so well.
Oh
though.
yeah, it's totally convincing. It's like, wow.
She's so sweet. I really like Dolly Parton. Oh, and then she lassos him too. Well, then she ties him up like a pig.
Hog ties him.
Yeah, she hog ties him.
She hog-tied that man so many times.
And then our third one was this was
Lily Tomlin.
Yeah, Lily Tomlin. So she had all those little cartoon characters.
It was like a Snow Whitey
Yeah.
situation.
And then she's just like lovingly poisoning
Instead
him.
of a poison apple, it's poison coffee.
Yeah.
And it was so
all the
you
little
know,
animals are helping.
whimsical.
Yeah,
It's like-
The animals like bring in a spoon so she can stir it, and it dissolves the spoon inside of the coffee. It's like
Yeah.
perfect.
I mean, at that point in the movie, I was thinking, this is kind of getting wild. I wonder where can they go from here? And they just kept going. Kept going.
But it was just like hilarious because it's like the little birds just like open the windows and
Yeah.
like, they're like
Jack him up and just push his ass out the window.
So then the next day, they all come to work and Lily Tomlin is making him coffee and she accidentally puts the rat poison in the coffee. But, you know, he doesn't.
They've set up something where the chair is fucked up.
Yeah.
And so this is where it pays off. The chair falls all the way back and bumps his head.
So basically, all those scenarios that we saw start playing themselves out. Dolly Parton actually hogged
Yeah. But in this like comedy of errors kind of way
Yeah.
where things
Yeah.
just keep getting steadily more ridiculous
But
and
then-
out of place.
But then Jane Fonda actually shoots at him.
She pulls out Dolly Parton's gun.
I mean, I wonder how like liberating this was for women to watch during this
Yeah.
time period.
Well, and this is based off of Jane Fonda was the one who wanted to do this. And this is based off of actual workplace stories that was in her production office
Okay.
that she had. And then that's what became the impetus to make this movie.
It makes so much more sense that Jane Fonda was behind this because, like, she's such a powerhouse woman, anyways. But if we look at like Working Girl, like there was just no female experience
at all.
in that, nothing. I mean, even nowadays, like it's 2020, and it was cathartic watching. it.
Yeah, and it's still so rare to have a movie that has a trio of women as
Working together.
as the protagonists.
Yeah, I mean, they had a little bit of trouble at first, but like just like I mean,
Once they were bonded under a common enemy, their boss, who's
Yeah.
a piece of shit.
But I love it. It's like they go have a drink and then they have a joint.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they're like friends forever,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
united against the common enemy that is like the boss. And it's like all this like just starts unraveling. And it was just like beautiful, you know? It's like there was no, you know, husband drama or boyfriend drama. Like, yeah, there was a little bit, but it was kind of like tangential.
There's a little bit with
Yeah, it was
Jane
like-
Fonda, but it pays off with her telling him to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah,
Exactly.
great.
with the boss like hanging, like thinking it was like some sort of like BDSM.
Yeah,
scene
you're
going
into that
on.
BDSM stuff. And I was like, wow, this is not what I thought was going to happen in this movie at all.
Dog collar. Okay, so I mean, we're skipping ahead. I mean, hopefully you'll just go watch it. So I'm not spoiling it all for you. But so you know when
This contraption that Dolly Parton makes
yeah.
to like.
So they've got him under lock and key at a certain point because, well, first of all, they think that they killed him. And so instead, they think that they're robbing the hospital of his dead body, but they accidentally rob it of some stranger. Which is like, I mean, I love scenarios like that because you're like, how is this person going to get out of that? What are you going to do with this dead body? So, you know, they do find out that he made it and he's alive, but then they...
Well, because he comes in the next day,
Yeah.
and then they start talking about it in the bathroom, and then that's when the little tattletale,
Tower.
yeah, is hearing it and writing it on toilet paper and then tells
So
him.
that gets us at least to the point of they're like, okay, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna go to jail if we don't, you know, hogtie this man up in some S&M gear.
There were like so many times in the movie that I was laughing, but I was like, where this is going? Like, what this is happening?
Like, I never knew where it was going to go.
Yeah.
No,
The whole time.
I didn't know what the logical conclusion of it was, but then when it happened, I was like, no, that makes
Okay,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, they make the workplace better while he's gone. You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
I mean, that's my favorite part. It's
Yeah.
like, so let's talk about all the little things that they implemented. So they're holding him captive for like 6 weeks, and nobody missed him.
of course, because he was an asshole.
Yeah, nobody did. So they're holding him captive because they're trying to catch him in a lie.
The best I can understand it, he sold this shit off in this warehouse that belonged to the
It was
company.
embezzlement.
Yeah, and then he pocketed the money.
Yeah, okay.
Embezzlement. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and they're trying to call him out of that because if they can do that, then he can't.
They can at least blackmail him.
Yeah, they can
and-
blackmail him so they won't go to jail for attempted murder. And
But since he's gone so long, they're like, oh, let's do something different. There's nobody in the office anyway. Fuck them. You know. It's
So some of the stuff they implemented, I mean, a lot of these things that we still don't have today.
Right.
So one was you can choose your own hours.
yeah.
Like flexible time.
Flexible hours, yeah. So you
This
can
is
you still work the same amount.
40 years ago.
This is 40 years
40
ago.
years
We
ago.
still don't have flexible hours in almost any job.
No.
And then they also had one where it was like, I think it was a shared job.
Job sharing, so
Yeah,
you
job
could
sharing.
so you could split your job with somebody else
Yeah.
if you only had enough time to come in for this.
And,
Time
and then,
period.
I mean, honestly, the one that I wish we had the most today was the daycare.
Yeah.
And
On-site daycare, yeah.
Yeah.
because like that's something. I mean, we've talked about that so many times for like women's liberation to have freaking daycare, you know, available to everybody, or at least you're in your freaking job, you know.
Yeah, and then the equal pay, and then there was something to do with part-time work that I couldn't quite figure out.
Okay,
They
no,
didn't explain it later or anything. It was on a letterhead
Yeah.
or something.
They were allowed to have like personal items, decorate, make it feel like their home.
It didn't have to feel like a fucking prison
Yeah.
where they were
Right.
stuck.
And then there was like I remember seeing disabled people as well. So
Yeah.
they were
That was like front and center in that one shot. The guy comes out and he hops over into his
Yeah.
chair and he's like, "What the fuck is this?" Like he's
Yeah.
just like losing his shit. I guess because he only wanted to hire people he could hit on,
Yeah.
or people who were like ineffectual that he could push around.
It's incredible to me that it's 40 something years later, and no, it is 40 years later, and 40 something. I can do math. and they still haven't gotten the memo.
Right?
No, we're still there, fighting for the same things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's maybe I don't know. Are women still like asked to make coffee all the time? I feel like you couldn't get away with that anymore. It's too big a stereotype, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
We have the coffee problem. I don't know. Maybe some people. No. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting feedback from the cameraman.
I think I would lose my shit if somebody asked me to make coffee, or I would make it so bad that they would never ask me to make it again.
Right.
Like very close to the rat poisoning situation.
The
Like,
coffee thing still happens. Okay. So
So we have nothing.
we have nothing. Literally not. And we still don't even have equal pay.
Yeah.
Like this is ridiculous. 40 years ago, they had these ideas, and
More than that, but
yeah, they're
I know,
not
but 40
new.
years ago, we're watching a movie that
yeah.
Maybe we need to hog time more people.
Yeah, probably. It's really good.
I really like this. I don't have any problems with it. Nothing. I thought it was perfect.
I don't either.
Where I was expecting it to go. I mean, like it was so many places where I did not expect it to go. Like the whole thing, like when they sold the body, you know, it's kind of like when they realized they were like so blasé about it. It's kind of like we got the wrong guy. We need to return him to the hospital.
That's
Like,
not him.
and they were like,
Like how the women just, I mean, obviously they drove the story
Yeah.
completely, but in comparison with like Working Girl, you know, everything happened to Melanie Griffith.
Yeah.
And these women were like, let's take charge. And just like the relationship with the women in this one compared to Working Girl, like the women are all pitted against each other and fighting for a position. And in this one, they're all helping each other.
Right.
And even here, like, women were, like, driving a little bit of the story because, like, the reason why Jane Fonda ended up in that bar is because they fired this girl for wanting to work part-time, and she was kind of like, I had to do something about it. I want to join the other ones. Like, so it was, like, very female-driven story all over the way.
I forgot about that. That was the impetus for the person getting fired was because they were discussing their pay with somebody else.
Right.
And he was like, we don't talk about that in the office. And it's like, I wonder why, because you're underpaying everybody and you're paying the men differently from the women. And if they find out, they're gonna fucking lose their shit. Do not be worried about talking about your fucking pay and your job. That's what your overlords are telling you to do. Talk to everybody about your pay and what you're getting paid so you can figure out how you're getting fucked.
And if you're not, then you can help other people realize.
Exactly.
So,
9 to 5.
I will watch Jane Fonda in anything. I love that woman. Even now, I think she's brilliant.
What's the one?
In this movie, she was, like, pretty tame. Like, her character was pretty tame compared to how she usually is.
I think also because you're playing opposite Dolly Parton, who is just a fucking goofball in the best way, and then Lily Tomlin's just over the top too.
Yeah.
So you have to like you have to be the straight person in it, you know, and it's like just like ground it so the other people can circle you and act like nuts, you know.
To this day, all three of those women are
Still
really,
doing.
you know, fighting for equality and women's rights, and they're very well known for it. So I think that this movie is really great for, you know, just women's equality in general.
Well, Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda have, like, a TV show now,
Yeah,
like
I
40
know.
years later.
They've got a show called Grace and Frankie.
It's weird that, you know, 40 years later, they're still going strong.
Yeah. So I heard that this was originally written to be a drama. And I guess the reason they changed it was because they thought that it would be harder to sell feminism unless it was a comedy.
This works better than being preachy.
Yeah,
Anytime,
it would have been preachy.
anytime
It would've
anything's
been-
preachy, I just immediately tune it out.
Yeah, exactly. Like this felt clever.
Yeah,
to me.
exactly. Very clever.
It would have been such a waste to have these three women doing drama in this movie. Like, because it was
Especially
so good
Dolly
the way
Parton.
it was.
Yeah.
How could you have done that? Because all these things are so ridiculous. You know, like how would you have done any of this stuff? Like tying your boss up and leaving him on the ceiling? Like that has to be funny.
Well, you have other, you know, movies from that era that were like feminist, like something like Norma Ray or something like that, that they're like heavy and
Yeah.
all like pain and suffering and all this stuff. And like I watched it once and I never want to watch it again because it was traumatic.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like,
But I would watch
So-
this many more times.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, the message still hit home. And you can relate to it, you know. It's like, yeah, you're laughing at it, but it's kind of like, I've been there, you know.
I forgot this line. We all laughed at this really hard.
Okay.
I say we hire a couple of wranglers to go upstairs and beat the shit out of them. And it was the way she said it. It was just so matter of fact. It is.
It was so like, this can be arranged.
This is gonna
like,
happen.
right now.
You're just so comfortable with all these horrifying ideas.
Yes.
Who are you?
Ronald Reagan wrote in his presidential diary that he and his wife Nancy watched the film on Valentine's Day in 1981. He wrote, "Funny, but one scene made me mad. A truly funny scene if the three girls had played getting drunk, but no, they had to get stoned on pot. It was an endorsement of pot smoking for any young person who sees the picture."
Oh,
I was
Puppet.
actually surprised that they showed that because it was like the 80s.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really see that much in movies now. So it's kind of like, no,
Yeah,
really
it's become more normalized now,
Yeah.
but it's like 1980. It's like, you know, for a second I was like, is that a joint? Are they just smoking a
I got
rolled
the same thing.
cigarette?
It's kind of like, and then they were like, it's marijuana. Like, oh.
Yeah.
But they were like, and then they like smoked it and they were like passing it around and all this
they're
stuff.
like,
and,
"You're high." It was like,
okay.
oh.
Right out of the 70s, but they still, I don't remember any movie from the 70s that I watched that had that overtly in it.
You know, now it's so commonplace to just see people sitting in a circle a la that 70s show or whatever, where they're just passing around. And even in that, they won't show the fucking joint because they don't want to show it, you know.
It was just like a different setup here because it was like professional women, you know, like divorce and like a manager for 12 years in a corporation that is kind of like, oh, I have a joint. Like, you just don't see that. The only thing that I could tell was off with the times was like the shooting scene and the shooting scene in the bathroom. When Jane Fonda was having her fantasy. That would be weird nowadays. Like, you wouldn't see something like that in the movie because like you have like so many like mass shootings. Like, clearly like that wasn't a problem back then. That was the only part where I paused a little bit. I was kind of like, ooh, like different times.
Yeah.
Remember how we were talking about Dolly Parton's nails?
Yeah,
They're like
so
they're like hugely long and pointy and stuff. Apparently during the filming of it, she would act like she was typing and just tap out stuff. Well, she tapped out the song that way. She tapped out the beat to the song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talented woman.
Yes.
I really like her.
That's how she made it.
How many times have I said that? That's great.
Can't say it enough.
I would highly recommend this to anybody who wants to watch a great, feminist office film. It's funny. It's great.
Yeah. 40 years ago and it still holds.
Yeah, it holds up. That's for sure. I think it's great. You guys too?
Yep, I agree.
Yep. Watch it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed us talking about it. And if you like this video, like it,
subscribe.
Check us out on Patreon. Thanks. Bye, guys.